This hormonal yoga was created by Dina Rodriguez, a Brazilian therapist with degrees in psychology and philosophy from the University of Sao Paulo. She was 65 when she began her collaboration with doctors and scientists to design this yoga. The goal of this practice is to activate the production of female hormones in order to reduce the unpleasant symptoms of menopause, and even allow women considered sterile by conventional medicine to conceive. Every year, she travels to Europe and North America to teach her technique, now recognized worldwide. Today, Dina is 91 years old, and due to this practice, she remains a smiling, radiant, and luminous presence, still young in spite of her years. Hormonal yoga is a gentle and natural approach that aims to regulate and tone the hormonal system. The regular practice will allow women to manage symptoms related to premenopause, menopause, and even infertility. The practice combines hatha yoga postures, dynamic breathing inspired by Kundalini yoga, a technique that helps to accumulate energy, as well as an energy circulation practice of Tibetan origin. The exercises work particularly on the endocrine glands, which are the ovaries, the pituitary, the thyroid, and the adrenals. The ovaries and the uterus regulate the cyclical functioning of the female reproductive system. But another organ plays a vital role in this operation as well. It is a small section at the base of the brain called the hypothalamic pituitary complex. It consists of the hypothalamus and the pituitary glands. The hypothalamus produces a hormone called GnRH that acts on the pituitary gland. The latter then secretes two hormones called FSH and LH. FSH is primarily secreted during the first 14 days of the cycle. This hormone acts on the ovaries, stimulating follicle growth. LH is produced primarily just before the 14th day of the cycle. The LH hormonal peak triggers ovulation. The hormonal secretions of the brain are the origin of ovarian and uterine cycles. However, ovarian secretions also exert an influence on the functioning of the hypothalamic pituitary complex. During the different phases of the cycle, the ovaries will release two hormones that are detected by the brain and alter the activity of this complex. During the first 14 days of the cycle, the ovaries secrete estrogen. The brain will detect this release, which causes the reduction of FSH and LH secretions. This phenomenon is called a negative feedback control mechanism exerted by the ovaries on the hypothalamic pituitary complex. Before ovulation, the secretion of estrogen by the ovaries reaches its peak. Its concentration in the blood is then detected by the brain, which will react in the opposite way to that previously described. LH and FSH secretions will increase very rapidly. This phenomenon is called a positive feedback control mechanism exerted by the ovaries on the hypothalamic pituitary complex. The last 14 days of the cycle, the ovaries exert a new negative feedback control on the brain by secreting progesterone. The functioning of the ovaries, uterus, and the hypothalamic pituitary complex is therefore cyclical in women from puberty to menopause. A regular practice of hormonal yoga thus makes it possible to maintain the equilibrium of this complex system and thus to avoid the unpleasant symptoms of menopause.